3 days before our $180,000 wedding, my gold digger fiancée vanished for content creation with her photographer friend. I tracked her phone to a hotel where I found them playing house. On our wedding day, I exposed everything to 200 guests with security footage. She collapsed in her $25,000 dress as her fake influencer world crumbled. This happened about a year ago, and people keep asking me to share the story, so here it is. Buckle up because this gets wild. I, 34 male, own 3 luxury car dealerships in Texas, clearing $3.8 million annually. Started with nothing but a beat-up pickup and $15,000 in debt after my mechanic father died when I was 19. Spent 6 years flipping wrecked luxury cars, living off ramen and determination until I could open Rodriguez Luxury Motors. Now I've got a $2.2 million house in Preston Hollow and a different supercar for every day of the week. But success attracts parasites, and the biggest parasite I ever encountered was named Cassandra. Met her at a charity gala where she accidentally spilled champagne on my $5,000 Armani suit. Classic move, but Cassandra was stunning. 5 feet 7 inches, blonde, perfect curves, wearing a dress worth more than most people's rent and jewelry that could fund a small country. "I'm a lifestyle blogger and brand ambassador," she said, touching my arm. "I just love beautiful things. Life's too short not to surround yourself with quality." Should have run right then. But she was gorgeous, charming, and seemed genuinely interested in my business. The first month was incredible. She knew the best restaurants, hottest clubs, most exclusive events, made me feel like a king everywhere we went. Then the requests started. "Babe, I need a new car for my content. Something that photographs well. Maybe a white Range Rover? Jake, honey, I got invited to this influencer trip to Dubai, but I need spending money. Just like $10,000. Baby, look at this Cartier bracelet. It's an investment in our future." Every conversation became about money. The manipulation was subtle but constant, pouting when I said no, comparing me to other wealthy men, threatening to leave if I didn't invest in our relationship. "If you really loved me, you'd want me to be successful. Supporting your woman's dreams is what real men do." That line worked every time. So I bought the Range Rover, $85,000, paid for Dubai, $15,000, bought jewelry, $22,000, covered her luxury high-rise rent, $4,500 per month. Within 6 months, I dropped over $200,000 on this woman. The real red flag should have been Brandon. Brandon was Cassandra's photographer, supposedly just a platonic friend and business partner, always around for emergency photo shoots, beach trips for lifestyle content, dinner dates for food photography, weekend getaways for travel blogging. "Brandon is like my creative partner," she'd explain. "He understands my artistic vision. Plus, we're just friends. He's like a brother to me." But something felt off. He was too good-looking, too smooth, too comfortable around my fiancée. The way he touched her during shoots, their inside jokes, how she lit up when he called. When I'd voice concerns, Cassandra would explode. "Are you seriously being this insecure? Brandon is just a friend. How pathetic are you that you're threatened by my business partner?" 8 months in, she started pushing marriage hard, crying about wasting her fertile years, threatening to find someone who appreciated her, comparing me to exes who knew how to treat a woman. I could have any man I want, but I chose you. Don't make me regret that choice. So I proposed with a $75,000 custom Tiffany ring, 3.5 carats, exactly what she'd shown me, just for fun. Her reaction wasn't joy or love. It was relief, like she'd secured a business deal. Finally, now we can start planning our dream wedding. Cassandra quit her influencer job, maybe $2,000 a month anyway, to plan full-time. The budget exploded from $50,000 to over $180,000 because everything had to be perfect for her influencer breakthrough moment. Dress, $25,000. Flowers, $15,000. Venue, $45,000. This is an investment in our future. When I become a successful influencer, this will all pay for itself. I worked 80-hour weeks funding her fantasy while she spent days at spas and business meetings. 3 weeks before the wedding, she announced a pre-wedding content series with Brandon. They were spending 12 to 14 hours daily doing elaborate photo shoots, coming home late, exhausted, glowing with creative satisfaction. Brandon is such an artist. He sees things in me that no one else does. He really gets my vision. Every complaint got shut down. "He's just a friend, Jake. You're being paranoid and controlling." But gut instincts are usually right, and mine was screaming something was off about Brandon. 2 days before the wedding, everything changed. Wednesday morning, 2 days before our Saturday wedding, I got a call from my Houston dealership. Major problem. Someone had damaged 3 Porsches during transport, and I needed to handle it personally. I'll be back tomorrow night, I told Cassandra, in plenty of time for the rehearsal dinner. Okay, baby, I'll probably be doing content stuff with Brandon anyway. Don't worry about me. I should have worried about her. A lot. The Houston trip was supposed to be quick. Assess damage, deal with insurance adjusters, save the deals. But Thursday brought a new crisis. The customer buying the damaged 911 Turbo S, $230,000, was threatening to sue for breach of contract. I spent the entire day negotiating. Thursday evening, exhausted and frustrated, I called Cassandra around 6 p.m. Babe, I'm going to be late getting back. This is taking longer than expected. No problem, honey. Brandon and I are doing a sunset shoot anyway. Take your time. Another photo shoot? Haven't you guys done enough content this week? Jake, please don't start this again. This is important for my career. Fine, I'll see you later tonight. Actually, the shoot might run really late. Don't wait up. I might just crash at my apartment tonight and see you at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow. Something in her voice felt off. Too casual, too dismissive. Like she was trying to get me off the phone quickly. Cassandra, it's the night before our wedding. We should be together. Baby, you're being dramatic. It's one night. We'll have the rest of our lives together. I love you, I said, testing her. Love you too, she replied automatically. Gotta go, the lighting is perfect right now. She hung up before I could respond. Friday morning, I drove back to Dallas, getting home around 10 a.m., expecting to find Cassandra preparing for the rehearsal. The house was empty. I called her phone, straight to voicemail. I texted her. No response. I called her apartment. No answer. By noon, I was panicking. That's when I remembered the tracking app I'd installed on her phone months earlier. She was always losing it and asking me to call it. I pulled up the app on my computer. She wasn't at her apartment downtown or any usual photo locations. According to GPS, she was at the Aloft Hotel in Deep Ellum. Why would she be at a hotel when she had her own apartment and our house? I drove there and parked across the street. Her white Range Rover was in the parking lot, the one I'd bought her for content creation. I called the hotel front desk. Hi, I'm trying to reach my fiancée. She's staying there, but I can't remember her room number. Cassandra Martinez? I'm sorry, sir. I can't give out guest information. What about Brandon Phillips? Let me check. Yes, Mr. Phillips is in room 314. Room 314. Cassandra and Brandon. Together. At a hotel. The day before my wedding. At 2 p.m., I watched them exit together. Cassandra wore a tight black dress and heels. Date clothes, not work clothes. Brandon looked like he'd just woken up wearing yesterday's clothes. No camera equipment. No lighting gear. Just the look of two people who'd spent the night together. I followed them to an expensive uptown restaurant, watched them hold hands across the table, feed each other food, laugh and touch like lovers for 2 hours. I needed undeniable proof. I called Tony, who owned the restaurant's security company. Tony, it's Jake Rodriguez. I need footage from the Meridian restaurant security cameras. Today, between 3 and 5 p.m. Jake, you know I can't just hand out surveillance footage. It's my fiancée. I think she's cheating. The wedding is tomorrow. Damn, man. Give me an hour. An hour later, I had high-definition video of Cassandra and Brandon kissing across the table at 4:17 p.m., less than 22 hours before she was supposed to marry me. I called the hotel back, pretending to be Brandon. Hi, this is Brandon Phillips in room 314. What time did I check in? I think I lost my wallet. You checked in Tuesday evening, Mr. Phillips. 8:47 p.m. Tuesday evening, 3 days ago. While I was in Houston, they'd been shacked up together. The sunset photo shoot, the late content session, the might crash at my apartment lie, all bullshit. I drove home in rage, but by the time I arrived, I'd calmed enough to think strategically. Cassandra thought she was playing me for a fool, but she'd forgotten something important. I didn't build a multi-million-dollar business by being stupid or weak. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that I played for keeps, and I always won. Friday evening was the rehearsal dinner. 50 of our closest family and friends gathering at this upscale steakhouse to celebrate our upcoming union. I'd spent $8,000 on this dinner alone, and every penny was about to be worth it. Cassandra showed up an hour late, claiming she'd been at a final fitting for her dress. She looked beautiful, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. Sorry I'm late, everyone, she announced as she walked into the private dining room. Last-minute bride stuff, you know how it is. She worked the room like a politician, hugging family members, taking selfies with friends, making sure everyone knew how grateful and blessed she felt. When she got to me, she wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me passionately in front of everyone. "Hi, future husband," she whispered in my ear. "Miss me? Where have you been?" I asked quietly. "I told you, final dress fitting." Then Brandon and I had to finish editing all the pre-wedding content. We're releasing it next week as part of my bridal series. Still lying. Even now, surrounded by our families, she was lying to my face. "How's the content looking?" "Amazing. Brandon is such an artist. He captured some really intimate moments of my transformation into a bride." I bet he did. During dinner, I watched her perform for our families, talking about how much she loved me, how excited she was to be Mrs. Rodriguez, how this was the happiest day of her life. "Jake is everything I ever dreamed of in a husband," she said during her speech to the room. "He's successful, generous, and he supports all my dreams. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life making him happy." The crowd applauded. My mom was crying happy tears. Her parents looked proud. Everyone bought her act completely. But I knew the truth. And tomorrow, everyone else would know it too. After dinner, we went back to my house for the traditional last night as a bachelor routine. Cassandra was more affectionate than she'd been in weeks, talking about our future together, about the amazing life we were going to build. "I have something special planned for tomorrow night," she said, snuggling up against me in bed. "Something I picked up this week while you were in Houston." The irony was perfect. She'd probably bought lingerie while she was cheating with Brandon at the hotel. "Can't wait," I said. She fell asleep with a smile on her face, probably dreaming about my bank account and the lifestyle she was about to lock in forever. But I didn't sleep. I spent the night making final preparations for what was about to become the most expensive lesson in consequences she'd ever receive. Saturday morning, Cassandra left early for hair and makeup with her bridesmaids. The wedding wasn't until 2 p.m., but she wanted plenty of time to get ready and create content for her social media. "Next time you see me, I'll be walking down that aisle in my gorgeous dress," she said, kissing me goodbye. "Thank you for making all my dreams come true, baby." After she left, I got dressed in my custom tuxedo and started putting the final pieces of my plan into motion. First, I called my business attorney. "I need you to do something for me today. I need you to serve Cassandra with papers immediately after the wedding ceremony." "What kind of papers?" "Fraud charges, breach of contract, recovery of gifts given under false pretenses. I want every penny back that I spent on her, plus damages." "Jake, what's going on?" I explained the situation and showed him the hotel footage on my phone. "Good grief, the day before your wedding? I need to know, legally, what can I recover? In Texas? Probably everything. The engagement ring, the car, any money you gave her for personal expenses. Plus, if you can prove fraud, you might be able to get punitive damages." "How much are we talking about?" "Based on what you've told me, probably $400,000 to $500,000. Maybe more." "Perfect." Next, I called my security guy, who handled security for all my dealerships. He was former military and understood the importance of documentation. "I need you to film something for me today. Something that might end up on the internet." "What kind of filming?" "The kind that ruins people's lives." "Say no more, boss. I'll bring the good equipment." Then I made the most important call of all, to Cassandra's apartment complex. "Hi, this is Jake Rodriguez. I pay the rent for Unit 2347, Cassandra Martinez. I need to know, has she been staying there this week?" "Let me check." "No, sir. The unit appears to have been empty all week. The parking space has been empty too." So she hadn't been staying at her apartment like she'd claimed. She'd been at the hotel with Brandon the entire time I was in Houston. The lies just kept getting deeper. At 1 p.m., I drove to the wedding venue, a luxury resort in Plano that cost me $45,000 just for the location. Guests were already arriving, getting seated in the ceremony area. At 1:30 p.m., I did something that would change everything. I walked over to the bridal suite where Cassandra was getting ready. I could hear laughing and music coming from inside. Her bridesmaids were probably posting Instagram stories of the whole process. I knocked on the door. "Jake, you can't see me before the ceremony. Bad luck," she called out. "I have something for you," I said. "A wedding day surprise." The door opened and her maid of honor Jessica peeked out. "Make it quick, we're almost done with makeup." I stepped inside. Cassandra was sitting in front of a huge mirror, still in her robe, getting her hair finished. She looked like a princess preparing for her coronation. "What's the surprise?" she asked, grinning at me in the mirror. I handed her a small gift box. "Something I picked up for you this week." She opened the box eagerly. Inside was a flash drive. "What's this?" "Wedding photos," I said. "From your week with Brandon." The color drained from her face. The makeup artist stopped working. The room went silent. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her voice was shaking. The Aloft Hotel, room 314, Tuesday through Thursday. While I was in Houston working to pay for this wedding, you were there with Brandon. Jake, that's not... I can explain. Go ahead. Explain it. Explain the hotel footage. Explain the restaurant video. Explain why you lied about staying at your apartment. The bridesmaids were staring in shock. The hairstylist backed away from the chair. It's not what you think, Cassandra said desperately. Brandon and I were just working on content. The hotel was for a photo shoot. What kind of photo shoot requires you to check in on Tuesday night? She had no answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You're going to sit here and think about your choices. In 30 minutes, you're going to walk down that aisle and face the consequences of those choices. Jake, please, we can work this out. It was just cold feet. Wedding nerves. It didn't mean anything. We'll see. I left her sobbing in her wedding dress and walked back to the ceremony area. It was time for the main event. 200 people were seated and waiting for a wedding. They were about to get something much more interesting. At exactly 2 p.m., the wedding march began playing. The guests all stood and turned toward the back of the venue, expecting to see a radiant bride walking down the aisle. Instead, they saw me walking to the altar alone. I took the microphone from the pastor and faced the crowd. 200 people in fancy clothes, confused but smiling, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here today, I began. I know many of you traveled long distances and went to considerable expense to celebrate what you thought was going to be my wedding to Cassandra. A few people started looking concerned. This wasn't how weddings usually started. However, I have some news to share with you. There will be no wedding today. Gasps from the crowd. People started murmuring to each other. Cassandra's mom stood up from her seat in the front row. The reason there will be no wedding is simple, I continued. 3 days ago, while I was in Houston handling business, Cassandra checked into a hotel room with another man. The murmuring turned into shocked voices. Someone in the back said, "What?" loud enough for everyone to hear. For those of you who don't know, Cassandra has been telling everyone that her close friend Brandon is just her photographer and business partner. But for the past 3 days, while I was working to pay for this ceremony, they've been playing house at the Aloft Hotel in Deep Ellum. Cassandra's father stood up now too. Jake, what are you saying? This is insane. I have video footage, I said, pulling out my phone. High-definition surveillance video from yesterday showing Cassandra and Brandon on a romantic lunch date, 12 hours before she was supposed to marry me. My security guy had set up a projection screen for the ceremony slideshow. Now he switched the input to my phone. The restaurant footage filled the screen. Crystal clear video of Cassandra and Brandon holding hands across the table, feeding each other, kissing passionately. The timestamp in the corner showed Friday, 4:17 p.m. The crowd erupted. People were standing up, pointing at the screen, talking loudly to each other. Some were recording on their phones. So instead of a wedding today, I said into the microphone, you're all witnesses to the exposure of someone who thought she could lie, cheat, and manipulate her way to a payday. That's when Cassandra came running out of the bridal suite. She was still in her $25,000 wedding dress, but her makeup was ruined from crying. Her hair was falling out of its perfect style. She looked like something from a horror movie. Jake, stop! She screamed, running toward the altar in her designer heels. You're ruining everything! The crowd turned to stare at her. She looked exactly like what she was, a cheating bride who'd been caught red-handed. Tell them it's not true, she yelled at me. Tell them you made a mistake. Which part isn't true, Cassandra? The hotel room? The romantic dinner? The 3 days of lying to my face? It's not what it looks like. Brandon is just a friend. You're being crazy and jealous. I switched to the hotel lobby footage on the projection screen. Time-stamped video of Cassandra and Brandon checking in together on Tuesday night, kissing in the elevator. Friends don't usually check into hotel rooms together, I said. The crowd was eating this up. Some people were laughing now. Others looked shocked. A few were definitely recording everything on their phones. You're humiliating me, Cassandra screamed. In front of everyone. How could you do this to me? How could I do this to you? I couldn't help but laugh. Cassandra, you cheated on me 3 days before our wedding. You lied about where you were. You spent my money on romantic getaways with another man. And somehow I'm the bad guy for exposing it? Her mother came rushing up to the altar. Cassandra, sweetheart, is this true? Were you with Brandon? Mom, it's not what he's showing you. The videos are taken out of context. Jake is being controlling and paranoid? Then explain this, I said, switching to more footage. Security camera video from the hotel restaurant showing them having breakfast together on Wednesday morning. both clearly just out of bed, wearing bathrobes. Cassandra looked around at all the faces staring at her. Family, friends, business associates, people who'd known her for years. The judgment in their eyes was obvious. That's when she completely lost her mind. "Fine!" she screamed at the crowd. "Yes, I was with Brandon, but it's his fault." She pointed at me. "He's boring and obsessed with work and money. He doesn't understand me. Brandon makes me feel alive." The crowd went silent. Even her own family looked horrified. "Brandon has everything Jake doesn't have," she continued, apparently deciding to burn every bridge at once. "He's cultured and sophisticated and creative. He understands art and beauty and passion. Jake just knows about cars and money." "Then why didn't you just break up with me?" I asked calmly. She stopped, realizing she was about to say the quiet part out loud. "Because you wanted the lifestyle I could provide," I said for her. "You wanted my money and Brandon's excitement. You thought you could have both." She didn't deny it. The truth was written all over her face. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said back into the microphone, "you've just witnessed the real Cassandra. Someone who views relationships as business transactions and thinks loyalty is optional." I started walking away from the altar, but she grabbed my arm. "Jake, please, we can work this out. I'll never see Brandon again. I'll do anything." "You had your chance to do the right thing. Instead, you chose to lie and cheat and manipulate. Now everyone knows exactly who you are. If you leave me like this, you'll destroy my life." "No, Cassandra, you destroyed your own life. I just made sure there were witnesses." I walked out of the ceremony area, leaving her sobbing in her wedding dress in front of 200 people. The crowd was buzzing with shocked conversations. People were already pulling out their phones to share the drama with friends and family. But I wasn't done yet. The real destruction was just beginning. The next few days were chaos. Videos of the wedding disaster spread across social media like wildfire. Multiple guests had live-streamed the whole thing, and the hashtag number #WeddingExposed was trending in Dallas. Cassandra's humiliation was going viral, but that was just the beginning of her problems. Monday morning, I walked into my attorney's office with a briefcase full of evidence and a plan for financial devastation. "I want to destroy her," I told my lawyer. "Legally, financially, completely. Jake, I understand you're angry, but she defrauded me out of over $400,000. She lied about her intentions, manipulated me into expensive purchases, and committed adultery while planning to marry me for my money. In Texas, that's criminal." My lawyer reviewed the evidence I'd compiled. Hotel receipts, restaurant footage, phone records, bank statements showing every penny I'd spent on her. "This is actually really good," he said after an hour. "We can file civil charges for fraud, breach of promise, recovery of gifts, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. What can we get? Everything. The engagement ring, the car, all the money you spent on her personal expenses, wedding costs, plus punitive damages. We're talking about $600,000 to $800,000. Do it." The lawsuit was filed Tuesday morning. Cassandra was served at her apartment by a process server who found her hungover and still wearing yesterday's clothes. But I wasn't done yet. Here's something most people don't know about Cassandra's influencer career. It was all fake. The followers, the engagement, the brand partnerships, everything was purchased or fabricated. I hired a digital forensics expert to analyze her social media accounts. What we found was beautiful. 80% of her followers were bots she'd purchased. The brand partnerships she bragged about were either fake or unpaid collaborations worth maybe $100 each. Her actual income from influencing was less than $500 a month, but she'd been using her fake success to get credit cards, loans, and expensive purchases she couldn't afford. That's credit fraud. I sent all this evidence to the credit card companies she owed money to. Within a week, they'd filed their own fraud charges against her. Then I got creative. Remember that white Range Rover I bought her for content creation? It was financed through my dealership, with me as the co-signer. When she defaulted on the payments, which happened immediately after I stopped funding her lifestyle, I had it repossessed. But here's the beautiful part. She'd been using that car for DoorDash and Uber to make money after losing her fake influencer income. When the car disappeared, so did her ability to work. I also called her apartment complex and terminated the lease I'd been paying for. Since she had no income and no credit, she got evicted within 30 days. But the real masterpiece was what happened to Brandon. Brandon worked for a high-end marketing agency that handled luxury brands, the kind of company that cares about their employees' personal reputations. I sent them the hotel footage. Brandon was fired within 48 hours. His boss cited conduct unbecoming and behavior incompatible with our brand values. Word spread quickly in the Dallas marketing community. No one would hire him. Last I heard, he was working at a coffee shop in Deep Ellum and living with 3 roommates. Meanwhile, Cassandra's situation got progressively worse. Without my financial support, her real personality came out. She started demanding money from friends and family. When they said no, she'd have complete meltdowns, screaming about how everyone had abandoned her. Her parents kicked her out after she stole jewelry from her mother to sell for rent money. Her friends stopped answering her calls after she showed up at their houses creating drama and demanding they lend her money. The fake Instagram persona crumbled completely. Her remaining real followers watched her spiral in real time through increasingly desperate posts, begging for money, blaming everyone else for her problems, and making wild accusations about how I'd destroyed her life. 3 months after the wedding, I got a call from my lawyer. Jake, Cassandra wants to settle. She's offering to accept a payment plan for the judgment. What kind of payment plan? $50 a month for the next 800 years. I laughed. What's she doing for work? Apparently she's a server at a chain restaurant in Arlington, making about $800 a month after taxes. Tell her no. I want the full amount, plus interest. Jake, she can't pay it. She's basically homeless. Not my problem, she made her choices. But then something unexpected happened. Something that would give me the opportunity to deliver a final blow that even I hadn't planned. 6 months after the wedding disaster, I was living my best life. Business was booming. I'd started dating a successful attorney named Rachel, who had her own money and her own life, and I was finally free of the drama and manipulation. But Cassandra's life had become a complete train wreck. The court had awarded me $743,000 in damages, everything I'd spent on her plus punitive damages for fraud. Since she couldn't pay, they'd garnished what little income she had and put liens on any future assets. She was living in a studio apartment in East Dallas that cost $600 a month and working double shifts at a chain restaurant to barely survive. Her social media accounts were dead. Her influencer dreams were buried. Her friends had all abandoned her. But apparently, rock bottom wasn't low enough for Cassandra. One evening in December, I was at my dealership going over sales numbers when she showed up. I saw her through the window, sitting in the parking lot in a beat-up Honda Civic that looked like it had seen better decades. She sat there for an hour, just watching. My sales manager started getting nervous. Boss, should we call security? Not yet. Let's see what she wants. Finally, she got out of the car and walked toward the showroom. She looked terrible, thin, pale, wearing cheap clothes from Walmart. Her hair was unwashed and she had dark circles under her eyes. This was not the glamorous Instagram princess I'd once known. She walked into the showroom like she owned the place. Jake, she said loud enough for my entire staff to hear. We need to talk. What do you want, Cassandra? I want you to drop the lawsuit. The audacity was breathtaking. And why would I do that? Because I'm sorry. I made mistakes. I was young and stupid and I hurt you. But enough is enough. I can't live like this anymore. She was putting on a show for my employees and the customers in the showroom, playing the victim, trying to make me look like the villain. You can't live like what? I asked. Poor Jake. I'm living in poverty. I can barely afford food. I'm working 16-hour days just to pay rent. This has to stop. You know what would stop it? Paying what you owe me? I can't pay $743,000. You know I can't. You're trying to destroy my life. I didn't destroy your life, Cassandra. You destroyed your own life when you decided to cheat on me and defraud me out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. She looked around the showroom, at the luxury cars, the expensive fixtures, the obvious wealth surrounding us. Look at this place, she said, gesturing wildly. You have everything. 3 dealerships, millions of dollars, a mansion. You don't need my money. You're doing this out of spite. I'm doing this because actions have consequences. Something you never learned. That's when she tried a different approach. Her voice got softer, more manipulative. Jake, please. I know you're a good person. The man I fell in love with wouldn't want to see me suffering like this. Can't we work something out? The man you fell in love with? I laughed. Cassandra, you never loved me. You loved my money. And the only reason you're here now is because you need more of it. That's not true. I did love you. I made mistakes, but my feelings were real. If your feelings were real, you wouldn't have been cheating with Brandon 3 days before our wedding. The customers in the showroom were definitely listening now. One guy was pretending to look at a BMW while obviously eavesdropping on our conversation. Cassandra realized she was losing the sympathy angle, so she tried intimidation. Fine, she said, her voice getting louder. If you won't drop the lawsuit, I'll tell everyone what you're really like. I'll expose you on social media. I'll ruin your reputation. Go ahead. Tell everyone how I caught you cheating and held you accountable for it. I'm sure that'll make me look terrible. I'll say you were abusive, controlling, that you threatened me. With what proof? Unlike you, I don't lie about easily verifiable facts. She was getting desperate now, cycling through different tactics like a broken slot machine. I'll sue you for harassment, for intentional infliction of emotional distress, for ruining my career. Good luck with that. You'll need a lawyer, and lawyers cost money you don't have. That's when she played her final card, the one that showed me exactly how low she was willing to go. Jake, she said, moving closer to me, what if we could work out a different kind of arrangement? What kind of arrangement? She looked around to make sure no one was listening, then spoke quietly. What if I could service the debt in other ways? I still look good. I could be discreet. No one would have to know. I stared at her for a long moment, making sure I understood what she was suggesting. Are you offering to prostitute yourself to me to get out of the lawsuit? Her face turned red, but she didn't deny it. I'm offering to be practical about this situation. We both have needs. I had my phone recording the entire conversation. The next morning, I called an emergency meeting with my attorney. I played him the recording of Cassandra's visit to my dealership. Holy cow, Jake! She actually offered to prostitute herself to you? Clear as day. And I got it all on audio. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. It's not about hurting someone once. It's about systematically dismantling their ability to hurt anyone else ever again. I had my team create a comprehensive dossier on Cassandra's history. Private investigators, background checks, interviews with her ex-boyfriends. What we found was a pattern of financial exploitation going back years. I compiled all this evidence into a detailed report and sent it to a journalist friend who specialized in exposing financial predators. The story ran in the Dallas Business Journal with the headline, Local Instagram Influencers Pattern of Financial Fraud. The article went viral. Cassandra became the poster child for Instagram fraud and gold-digging manipulation. 3 days after the article published, I got a call from Cassandra. She was sobbing hysterically. Jake, please, you have to make them stop. They fired me from the restaurant. My landlord is evicting me. No one will hire me. You've destroyed my life. I didn't destroy anything, Cassandra. I just made sure people knew who you really are. Please, I'm begging you. I'll do anything. I'll sign anything. Just make it stop. Anything? Yes, anything. Just please help me. That's when I made my offer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to create a video confession. You're going to admit to everything. The cheating, the fraud, the manipulation, all of it. You're going to apologize to me and to every other man you've scammed. And you're going to warn other women not to follow your path. Jake, I can't do that. It will ruin what's left of my reputation. Cassandra, you don't have a reputation left. Everyone already knows what you are. This is your only chance to control the narrative and maybe salvage some dignity. What do I get in return? I'll reduce the lawsuit judgment from $743,000 to $100,000. And I'll help you find legitimate work that doesn't involve exploiting people. She was quiet for a long time. If I don't do this, then I release the recording of you offering to prostitute yourself to me. And I make sure every potential employer, every dating app, every social media platform knows exactly what kind of person you are. She hung up on me, but she called back an hour later. Fine, I'll do it. But I want the agreement in writing. The video confession was filmed at my attorney's office the next day. Cassandra, looking defeated and broken, admitting to years of financial fraud, manipulation, and exploitation. Apologizing to her victims. Warning other women not to follow her path. I thought I was entitled to other people's money because I was beautiful, she said to the camera. I thought men existed to fund my lifestyle. I was wrong. I hurt good people who trusted me. And now I'm facing the consequences of those choices. The video was posted to a YouTube channel I created specifically for this purpose. Within 24 hours, it had 500,000 views. Within a week, it had 2.3 million views. Cassandra had become a cautionary tale about gold digging and financial manipulation. Her name was forever associated with fraud and exploitation. But here's the beautiful part. I kept my word. I reduced the lawsuit judgment and helped her find a legitimate job at a medical billing company. She's making $35,000 a year now, living in a modest apartment, paying back what she owes in monthly installments. The last time I saw her was 6 months ago at a coffee shop downtown. She looked healthy and normal. No designer clothes, no expensive makeup. Just a regular woman living a regular life. She saw me and walked over to my table. Jake, she said quietly, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I need to say it. Thank you. For what? For stopping me. I was on a path that would have destroyed other people and eventually destroyed me. You forced me to face reality and become a better person. How are you doing? I'm okay. I'm working. I'm paying my bills. I'm learning to be self-sufficient. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. Good for you. I'm sorry, Jake. For everything. You deserved better. Yes, I did. But we both learned something from this experience. She nodded and walked away. And that was the last time we spoke. Today, I'm engaged to Rachel, the attorney I met after all this drama ended. She's successful, independent, and honest. We have a real partnership based on mutual respect and genuine love. My business is more successful than ever. I'm happy, healthy, and surrounded by people who value honesty and integrity. And Cassandra is living proof that actions have consequences, even for people who think they're too beautiful or too clever to face them.